headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador. This is From the South, and I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is commemorating National Day of Dignity alongside high-ranking military officials and armed forces personnel. The event to mark the day is taking place in the state of Aragua. On February 4, 1992, Hugo Chávez began a civic military rebellion that laid the foundations for the Bolivarian Revolution.
De los ejercicios militares en bicentenario de Angostura.
Aquí continúa el camino.
Here the path begins, here the path continues, and always with Chávez at the head, always with the dignity of the people. Today, more than ever, vindicated in the fight we are in for national sovereignty, the absolute independence of our country, and for respect for the values of our Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Today we are on a patriotic march, overthrowing a failed coup by the oligarchy. Here we are in a civilian military march, raising flags of freedom and respect for Venezuela. We are the good Venezuela, the true Venezuela. It is we who take flags of dignity and honor to confront those who call for imperialist intervention, to those who sell their souls to the imperialist devil. They believe Venezuela has no one to defend it, who loves it. And here we are, we who love Venezuela, the ones who defend it with our lives if necessary. And our truth was born 27 years ago in a rebellion against the IMF and neoliberalism, against the traitors to Venezuela who were in government at that time, in a rebellion against an exploiting oligarchy that led world empires to distribute Venezuelan resources and which today are again threatening and attacking us. The essence of February 4th is the Bolivarian Popular Rebellion, the profound military rebellion to defend the idea of our homeland.
Our correspondent in Venezuela, Luis Tavera, gives us more details.
In the context of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro having reported a coup attempt backed by the United States, Venezuelans have gathered in Plaza Bolívar to reject a plan which aims to destabilize the internal policies of Venezuela. The president also mentioned the relevance of military-civil unity. This is 27 years after the Day of National Dignity was celebrated for the first time. We are joined by a young demonstrator. Why did you join the rally?
We are here to celebrate the 27th-year anniversary of Hugo Chávez starting the Bolivarian Revolution. We are in the streets to defend the freedom and independence of Venezuela. We are a sovereign people who reject any foreign intervention. The international community is pointing at our country with false information about the need for humanitarian aid. We do not need humanitarian aid, but rather that the U.S. remove the sanctions. What they need to do is give us our freedom to decide our present and our future.
Thank you for joining us. People have not only taken to the streets here in Plaza Bolívar, but have also rallied at the Yellow House, where a forum is being held with national and international intellectuals participating. They are talking about the 20 years of Bolivarian Revolution, framed by the respect of all people. Here in Plaza Bolívar, people are willing to sign the document announced by Nicolás Maduro to let Washington know that Venezuela wants freedom and democracy.
Also, an International Day of Solidarity for Peace and Democracy event is being held in Caracas with numerous international guests. The meeting was attended by Adam Chávez, brother of President Hugo Chávez, who along with other speakers recalled the historic date of February 4, 1992. Foreign Minister Arreaza discussed this year's anniversary as a very distinct moment due to confrontation with the U.S., which came about because Venezuela, through the Bolivarian Revolution, dared to undertake a process of transformation.
We've lived greater and lesser levels of intensity over these years, and we are at a time of high intensity, where the U.S. government and elite, as we've said, are not behind the coup d'etat against President Maduro, they are leading it. They are giving the orders, and they aren't clandestine orders. They aren't just orders that they give Julio Borges, the traitor, when he goes to the White House to meet with Pence and Bolton, as when they tell them what to do, how to do it, and then those orders are transmitted to the people who have attempted to carry out a coup against the president here. They are just dictating the orders. No, they do it openly, in the media as well. They do it over social media.
Venezuela has rejected the decision of some European governments to recognize Juan Guaido as president after he proclaimed himself interim leader. On Twitter, Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza writes, "The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela expresses its strongest rejection of the decision of some governments of Europe to officially join the strategy of the U.S. administration to overthrow the government. Once again, they are following the Washington line." Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is criticizing the European Union for backing U.S. interference in Venezuela. During a visit to Kyrgyzstan, he said that the EU's demand for a new election is an ultimatum instead of mediation. Lavrov added that it's absurd to question the legitimacy of Venezuela's presidential election. Women from the Caribbean have condemned foreign interference in Venezuela. A statement written by human rights activists and university professors from the region called on the Caribbean to be actively promoted as a zone of peace. The statement strongly endorsed the CARICOM position on Venezuela, respect for the rule of law, and the need for a peaceful resolution in Venezuela. The Caribbean Community CARICOM says the region has vested interest in maintaining peace and stability on behalf of the people of Venezuela. CARICOM has also criticized the Organization of American States about its unilateral stance in accepting Venezuela's opposition leader as the self-declared interim president. CARICOM chairman Dr. Timothy Harris said the regional bloc rejects any military aggression towards Venezuela.
And 4 of the 5 associate member states. Over 200 delegates.
So our position, as is the position that all small island states should take, is that we must pursue peace at all costs in Venezuela. Because the opposite of that, war, bloodshed, military intervention, will not redound to the benefit of the people of the region. We could see no benefit at all from war, from military aggression in Venezuela for the region as a whole. If you have an outbreak of military aggression and warfare, you're going to send the wrong signal.
Earlier, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez confirmed what he had announced before, that his government recognizes Venezuela's self-proclaimed interim president, Juan Guaido. Previously, Sanchez, on behalf of the European Union, had given the elected government of Nicolás Maduro a deadline of 8 days to call for a new election. Hours later, the EU decided that it will not speak as a body, but that each state will be free to make its own declaration. In a recent interview, Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro insisted that dialogue is the way to solve the political situation in the country.
The door is open to dialogue, understanding, and respect of Venezuela's independence. We are open to 1,000 formulas for that kind of understanding. We don't accept ultimatums from anyone. It's like if I told the European Union, I give you 7 days to recognize the Republic of Catalonia, and if you don't, we're going to take measures. No, international politics can't be based on ultimatums. That was the era of empires and colonies.
Earlier, we spoke to former Mayor of London, Kenneth Livingstone, who joined us by phone.
Well, the simple fact is, all my lifetime, I was born at the end of the Second World War, and right the way through my lifetime, I've watched America overthrowing democratically elected governments all over Central and South America. As soon as those governments start to make sure that they're not being ripped off by American corporations, and Chavez took control of Venezuela's oil from the American corporation, used that to improve housing and health and education for the people of Venezuela. Those are the sort of governments that America wants out. That's completely untrue. Don't get most of the Western media are broadly aligned with America's imperial interests. You get virtually no honest coverage of many of these years. I remember all the stuff we were told about Castro and Cuba and so on. And if you look,
And London-based journalist and political analyst Hafsa Kara Mustafa gave us more insight into the events surrounding Venezuela. We spoke with her earlier.
Of course, it's not an attempt to restore democracy, and actually there's no democracy to restore. President Maduro was elected freely, and all international observers and institutions have actually confirmed that. Very much as soon as he was elected, the UN actually declared his election valid and declared him the official president of Venezuela. So there's no democracy to restore as such. And of course, the only plan and the only aim of a country like the United States is to wreak havoc and chaos everywhere. I think we've seen already in the past 20 years alone, we've seen the results of US intervention in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and of course in Libya, which was the most prosperous nation in the African continent, which is now a failed state where people are fleeing, where there is slavery, a return of slavery, and of course living conditions that are absolutely diabolical. And all this is a result of Western and US intervention. So of course the US is not interested in democracy. It never has been. The crisis in Venezuela now has really laid bare the criminality of Western governments and the US, which is the main sponsor of international criminality on an international level. A country that imposes its will in this way and is prepared to wreak havoc and denigrate the very basic principles of democracy is obviously not a democratic state and is a threat to international stability.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he has been following the evolution of the situation in Venezuela. He said that he has declined to involve the UN in the initiatives of regional groups. The General Secretary did so to give credibility to his offer of assistance in resolving the crisis. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. In El Salvador, Nayib Bukele has won the presidency in the first round of voting. According to preliminary results, Bukele, the Great Alliance for National Unity candidate, received 53% of the votes. Since the end of its civil war in 1992, El Salvador has been governed by the right-wing Arena Party and the left-wing Farabundo Martí National Liberation Front.
At this time, we can announce with full certainty that we have won the presidency of the Republic. Today, we won the first round and we made history. We received more votes than Arena and the FMLN put together.
Since Bukele received over 50% of the votes, there won't be a second round to the election. Carlos Calleja from the far-right Arena Party came in second with nearly 32% of the vote. Hugo Martinez from the ruling FMLN took just under 14%. And José Alvarado from Vamos had less than 1%. And our correspondent in El Salvador, Ernesto Ábalos, brings us up to date.
The Supreme Electoral Court in El Salvador has informed Salvadorians that with nearly all ballots received, the election is finishing with the scrutiny of the votes, taking place 48 hours after the election held on Sunday, February 3rd. Over a 5-day period, they will revise the ballots physically, and that gives political parties the chance to appeal in the case of any doubts about irregularities in the election. Bukele has already claimed the result and the presidency for the period 2019-2024. We're still waiting for confirmation on who will make up his cabinet. In San Salvador, things are already in motion to validate the results of Sunday's election.
We thank Ernesto for that report. The Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has spoken about the launch of a plan to search for thousands of missing people. According to the government, there are about 40,000 disappeared people in Mexico. During the announcement, the president said this is a problem, is very painful, and the government will help the relatives of missing people. Nearly $21 million have been budgeted for the search. According to official data, hundreds of thousands of people were killed in Mexico in a context of drug trafficking violence.
It is estimated that there are currently missing people, more than 1,100 clandestine graves, around 26,000 unidentified bodies in morgues, and this is proof of the magnitude of the humanitarian crisis and human rights violations we are facing, and that we must overcome in our country.
More than 90 different forest fires have broken out overnight across Chile, with the worst of the blazes registered in the southern Araucanía region. According to Chile's Interior Minister, at least 2 people have died, dozens were injured, while many houses have also been destroyed. Residents have called out urgent help from the government, especially to President Sebastián Piñera, who they said is consumed by the situation in Venezuela and is not paying attention to his own country. At least 16 migrants have died and another 5 remain missing in Colombia after their boat sank off the Pacific coast. Only 8 people from the vessel, carrying mostly Congolese migrants, have been found alive, which was reportedly heading towards the United States. Authorities from the Chocó department continue searching for the 5 missing people, but their chances of survival are slim as their boat sank on January 28. The United States is sending an additional 3,750 troops to the Mexican border. It is bringing the total number of soldiers at the border to about 4,300. The Department of Defense said the new troops will be stationed there for 3 months while they build razor wire fences and support border agents with surveillance work. Critics have called it a political stunt. It comes as President Donald Trump continues to fight Congress for funding to build a border wall. Our correspondent in the United States, Alina Duarte, tells us more.
The United States has sent more than 4,300 soldiers to the southern border. This is happening as the U.S. government readies itself to give the State of the Union speech on Tuesday, a speech that was postponed due to the government shutdown, the longest in the history of the country. It is expected that one of the main topics will be migration and the border wall. The U.S. needs to approve a national budget, and February 15th is the deadline. This budget was the reason the government shut down for a month, as the budget for the wall on the border with Mexico was not approved. The arguments even affected the Trump administration itself. We have to remember the controversy with the latest Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, who resigned due to the deployment of military troops in countries such as Syria. We expect international reactions to the State of Union speech.
Time for a second break. More news in a minute. Welcome back. The presidential campaign has kicked off in Senegal. President Macky Sall hopes to be re-elected in the first round, but he will have to face 4 other candidates. Sall says infrastructure development is his greatest achievement. The presidential election is scheduled for February 24th.
Before Issa was candidate, he did something for Senegal. He built the Sahel University, so he invested in Senegal. That's why Issa is the best candidate. He's a candidate of values.
We want to change the country with our leader Ousmane Sonko. We have faith in him. We believe in him. That's why this campaign is our campaign. It's the campaign of the youth, and all the youth is ready to oust this government from Senegal.
With less than 2 weeks to go before Nigeria heads to the polls, citizens are divided over President Muhammadu Buhari's performance during his first term. Buhari won his first term in 2015 on his promise to defeat Boko Haram militants and turn around the economy. His supporters claim he has made significant progress on his promises, but his opponent says Nigeria is worse than that it was 4 years ago.
I will vote for Buhari because he has done a lot to improve security. We didn't even go to school before. I'm a student and I couldn't leave my house to go to school for fear of bombings. But now it has ended. Now we go out as we please.
People are now suffering. You can see that the economy has gone downhill. There's so much inflation and life was easier before Buhari came in. Now things are really tight. We need to have change in leadership.
Farmers in Uganda's Bugandan kingdom are realizing the benefits of growing organic crops. The small-scale cassava farmers produce organic varieties without using heavy chemicals. It is in high demand because of its health benefits.
An addition not ensures food
the money will be generated more when someone knows that as he's eating that cassava, it is good for his or her health. That it was produced in a way that there were no chemicals injected into it. And that is a big market incentive that this is trying to show that production is not the end. You need to add value. You need to connect. You need to process. You need to transport. And you need to finally get to the market.
The World Health Organization says the vaccine for human papillomavirus is safe despite rumors otherwise. The World Health Organization says the unfounded rumors are causing people to refuse the HPV vaccine. And they say that's preventing the elimination of cervical cancer, which kills more than 300,000 women every year.
A key message that all women and girls absolutely need to hear. We have a vaccine that is very efficient and safe. It is the vaccine against the human papillomavirus. So all girls 9 to 14 years old should be vaccinated. And the benefit of this vaccine is in adulthood, because they will not have cervical cancer.
Today is World Cancer Day, which aims to raise awareness of the life-threatening disease and to encourage its detection and treatment. In Latin America and the Caribbean, cancer is reported to be the second most common cause of death. The region still faces challenges when it comes to measuring the real impact of cancer due to the lack of information systems. This year's China Media Group Spring Festival has officially opened in Beijing. This year's event has 32 programs, including 18 singing and dancing performances. Programs include a Chinese martial arts performance, sports, singing, and dancing. It's China's most important annual celebration, with world leaders sending congratulatory messages.
I would like to extend my greetings first and foremost to His Excellency the President of the People's Republic of China, President Xi Jinping, and wish all the people of China happy Chinese New Year. From the people of Zimbabwe, whom I represent, and my party, the ZANU-PF.
And with this story, we come to the end of this news brief. This and many other stories you can find at our website at telsurenglish.net. And don't forget to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Thank you for watching.